My wife announced her pregnancy with tears of joy, which turned into panic upon my revelation about the vasectomy. Who is the real father? The day started like any other Tuesday. I had just finished showing a 3-bedroom ranch house to a young couple who couldn't stop arguing about the granite countertops, nothing out of the ordinary. After 12 years in real estate, you learn that couples either bond in the search for a home or discover they shouldn't be together. These two were clearly in the second category. I pulled into the garage around 6:30 p.m., already thinking about dinner and maybe watching the game, but something felt wrong the moment I walked through the front door. The house was too quiet, yet charged with a tense energy, like the air before a storm. "Honey, I'm home," I called out, hanging my keys on the hook by the door. "In here," came Sarah's voice from the living room, but it sounded different, higher-pitched, almost rehearsed. I walked in and found her sitting on the edge of the sofa, hands clasped in her lap, with a wide smile that didn't reach her eyes, as if she were hiding something. The coffee table had been moved, and she had positioned herself as if posing for a photo. Everything felt staged. "You're never gonna believe what happened today," she said, almost bouncing in place, her voice vibrating with forced excitement. "Try me," I replied, dropping my briefcase and studying her face, looking for clues in all that theater. She took a dramatic pause, as if waiting for a drum roll. Then she pulled a pregnancy test from behind a cushion, holding it up like a golden trophy. "We're having a baby!" The words hung in the air, heavy as lead. For 3 seconds, I felt genuine confusion, my heart racing from the shock. Then my brain engaged and everything clicked with sharp clarity. See, here's what Sarah didn't know about me. 7 years ago, after the divorce from my first wife, Jennifer, and seeing my 2 children suffer through that mess, I made a decision. I had a clean, simple, permanent vasectomy. I was 34, I had my son David and my daughter Emily from the previous marriage, and I was set. No more kids, no more complications. When I met Sarah 2 years later, she was categorical about never wanting children. "Kids ruin everything," she'd say, with a glint in her eyes that seemed genuine. "I want to travel, focus on my career, enjoy our freedom." Perfect, I thought. We were aligned. I never saw a reason to mention the procedure since we were both against having children. But now, watching her perform this elaborate farce, several things became clear all at once, like a puzzle assembling in my mind. The sleepless nights she had been spending at her marketing job, the mysterious calls that ended abruptly when I entered the room, the way she had become distant and guarded over the last 3 months, as if keeping a secret I couldn't reach. The sudden interest in my work schedule, always asking when I'd be home late, as if mapping my absence. She studied my face, waiting for my reaction, analyzing every micro-expression to see if I was falling for her act. "My God," I said, forcing my voice to tremble with emotion while my stomach churned. This is incredible." Her smile widened, and I saw relief flood her features, as if she had fooled me. She thought she had me in the palm of her hand. "I know, right? I'm still in shock myself," she continued, warming up to the role of a mother-to-be. "I mean, we always said we didn't want kids, but sometimes life has other plans. Sometimes God has bigger plans for us." "God's plans," I repeated slowly, nodding as if absorbing this shattering news while anger began to burn in my chest. "You know what? You're absolutely right. This changes everything." "It does," she agreed eagerly, her eyes shining with false hope. "We'll need to start thinking about finances, maybe getting a bigger place. I mean, babies are expensive. You'll probably need to take more shifts, work some weekends." There was the financial blow. She wasn't just trying to trap me with a pregnancy, she planned to squeeze me financially in the process. "You know what?" I said, standing up slowly, keeping my cool so as not to tip my hand. "This is such incredible news that I think I should share something with you too, something I've been keeping." Her expression changed, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her face like a shadow. "What do you mean?" "Hold on," I said, heading to our bedroom, my heart beating steady but controlled. "I'll be right back. I have something to show you that will make this day even more surprising." I heard her shifting nervously on the sofa as I walked down the hall. When I returned, I was holding a brown folder I had kept in my files for years. Medical records, specifically the documentation of my vasectomy from 7 years ago. I sat down in front of her again, the folder in my lap, and looked her directly in the eyes, feeling the weight of the truth I was about to drop. "You know, it's funny how life unfolds," I said, my voice taking on a cold, almost surgical tone. "Here you are telling me about God's plans and unexpected pregnancies. Well, I have some news of my own." I opened the folder and pulled out the medical documents. Her face turned pale, as if the blood had been drained. 7 years ago, before I even met you, I had a medically verified, documented vasectomy, confirmed with follow-up exams. It is literally impossible for me to father a child. The pregnancy test slipped from her fingers and hit the coffee table, the sound echoing like a gavel in a courtroom. "So here is my question," I continued, my voice now carrying the authority of someone holding all the cards. "Who is he?" The silence that followed was deafening, a vacuum swallowing her entire facade. I watched her face cycle through emotions like a broken slot machine. Shock, panic, calculation, and then back to panic. That's impossible," she stuttered, her voice barely a whisper, trembling as if the ground beneath her were crumbling. "The test is positive. I'm pregnant. It has to be yours." I leaned back in my chair, keeping my eyes fixed on hers, not giving an inch. Medical science says otherwise. Vasectomies are 99.9% effective, and mine was confirmed sterile multiple times. So I'm going to ask again, who is he? "This is insane," she said, her voice rising to a near hysterical pitch. "You're accusing me of cheating based on some old medical procedure? Doctors make mistakes all the time. Maybe it didn't work right. Maybe it failed after all these years." "Maybe," I said, nodding thoughtfully, letting her think she had a way out. "Or maybe you've been lying to my face for months." She jumped off the sofa, the pregnancy test falling to the floor, the plastic clicking against the wood. "How can you think that? How can you sit there and accuse me of something so horrible? I would never do that." "Stop the act." My voice cut through the air like a sharp blade. "The sleepless nights at work, the mysterious calls, the way you've been constantly asking about my schedule, the sudden distance between us. Do you think I'm stupid? Those are just coincidences. I've been working on a big campaign. You know that. And the calls are from clients. You're being paranoid." I stood up slowly, still holding the medical documents, their weight like a weapon in my hand. "Paranoid. You announced a pregnancy that is medically impossible and expected me to open my bank account for it. And when I present proof that it can't be mine, you start talking about God's plans and medical miracles." Her eyes darted around the room as if looking for an escape route. "Look, I know this is confusing, but there must be an explanation. Maybe we should see a doctor together, get a second opinion." "Actually, you know what? You're right about God having plans," I said, my voice gaining a dangerous edge, like a gathering storm. "Because apparently his plan included giving me a vasectomy 7 years ago that would protect me from exactly this situation." "Don't bring God into this," she snapped, the mask slipping for a moment. "Don't bring God into this," I repeated, my voice rising, echoing her hypocrisy. "You're the one who mentioned God's plans when you were trying to sell me this lie. You're the one who thought you could use divine intervention as your cover story." She tried another approach, her voice softening, her eyes filling with rehearsed tears. "Honey, please, I know this is shocking, but we can get through this. Maybe the vasectomy wasn't as effective as you thought. These things happen. We just need to—" "Stop!" The word came out like a gunshot, cutting the air. "Don't insult my intelligence anymore." I walked closer to her, my voice dropping to a deadly calm, each word heavy with the truth. You have exactly one chance to tell me the truth, because I'm about to make some calls, and when I start digging, it's all gonna come out anyway. Every lie, every secret, every moment you thought you were being clever. Her hands were shaking now, her fingers gripping the fabric of the sofa. You're scaring me. Good. You should be scared, because trying to commit paternity fraud isn't just morally disgusting, it's illegal in most states. So here's how this is going to work. You're going to sit down and tell me everything. Who is he? How long has this been going on? And how exactly did you think you'd get away with it? She collapsed back onto the sofa, her whole body trembling as the weight of reality finally hit her. For a long moment she stared at the floor, likely calculating her options and realizing she had none. "It's not what you think," she finally whispered, her voice fragile like cracked glass. "Then tell me what it is." She looked at me, genuine fear now shining in her eyes. "I made a mistake, a huge mistake, but it wasn't supposed to happen like this." "Who is he?" Another long pause, a cutting silence. Then, so low I almost didn't hear it. "Nathan Miller from work." Nathan Miller. I knew that name. She had mentioned him before. The creative director at the marketing firm, married with kids. "How long?" I asked. My voice was steady, but my chest was tight. 3 months, she whispered, her eyes fixed on the floor. 3 months, I repeated, the words echoing like a verdict. So the pregnancy timeline fits perfectly with when you started acting different. She looked miserable, her face sinking in defeat. "And you thought what? That you could just push this on me and I'd never find out?" "I don't know," she said, starting to cry for real now, tears streaming in silence. "I wasn't thinking clearly. I was scared and stupid and greedy. Don't forget greedy. You are already talking about me working weekends and taking extra shifts to support this child that isn't even mine." She looked at me with something close to hope, one last desperate attempt. "But we can fix this. We can get past this. It was just a mistake and—" "Fix this?" I stared at her, disbelief burning in me. "You tried to trap me into raising another man's child. You tried to commit fraud. You've been lying to my face for 3 months. What exactly do you think there is to fix?" The hope died in her eyes, reality crushing any remaining illusion. "But wait," I said, a terrible thought occurring to me, cold as ice. "You said Nathan from work. He's married, isn't he?" She nodded again, not looking at me, shame weighing on her shoulders. "So you destroyed our marriage for a guy who's never going to leave his wife for you. That's perfect." The full weight of her situation was beginning to sink in, visible on her face, now pale and lost. The married lover who would flee as soon as he heard about the pregnancy, the husband she tried to defraud who now knew everything, the web of lies collapsing around her. "But I'm not done yet. In fact, let me ask you something else," I said, walking slowly in front of her, each step deliberate. "Are you absolutely sure Nathan is the father?" The question hit like a punch, her face going from pale to green. "What do you mean?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "I mean, if you were willing to lie to me for 3 months, sleep around behind my back, and then try to push the kid on me, what makes you think Nathan is going to believe he's the only one?" Her silence was all the answer I needed. "There's someone else, isn't there?" She buried her face in her hands. "My God, don't you dare bring God into your mess again," I snapped, anger now mixed with disgust. "How many men are we talking about here?" 2, she sobbed into her hands, her voice muffled by shame. "Only 2, only 2. I repeated slowly, each word loaded with contempt. "So you don't even know whose child it is. You were going to make me raise a child, destroy my financial stability, change my whole life, and you don't even know whose child it is." "It was a mistake," she cried, her tears now an uncontrolled river. Everything got so confusing and complicated and stop right there. My voice cut through the excuses like a blade. Don't you dare call this a mistake. A mistake is putting salt in your coffee instead of sugar. This is betrayal. This is fraud. This is calculated deception. I walked to the window, looking out at the quiet neighborhood street where normal families lived normal lives. Meanwhile, my wife was living as if starring in a twisted soap opera. "Who is the other guy?" I asked without turning around. "Does it matter?" I spun around to face her, my patience exhausted. "It matters because I want to know how deep this hole goes. I want to know exactly what kind of person I married." She was quiet for so long I thought she wouldn't answer. Then, almost inaudibly, "Kevin Reed." Kevin Reed. I didn't know that name, which somehow made it worse. Who is Kevin Reed? He's a trainer at the gym." "Your gym?" I said slowly, fury rising like a storm. "The gym you joined 3 months ago because you suddenly wanted to get in shape?" She nodded miserably, her face sunken in defeat. "So let me get this straight. You joined a gym, started sleeping with the trainer, also started sleeping with Nathan from work, got pregnant, and thought the best solution was to trick your husband into thinking it was his. Does that sum it up? When you say it like that, it sounds exactly like what it is," I interrupted, my voice cutting. "It sounds like you turned our marriage into a complete joke while I was working myself to the bone to build a life for us." I sat down in front of her again, but this time I felt something different. Not just anger, but disgust. A deep, overwhelming disgust. "You know what the worst part is?" I said quietly, each word heavy with the pain of betrayal. "I loved you. I truly loved you. I thought we were partners. I thought we were building something together. And the whole time you were out there making a fool of me." "I love you too," she said desperately, trying to grab a last thread of hope. "That's why we can get past this. People make mistakes, and if we just—" I held up my hand, cutting her off. "Don't insult my intelligence anymore. You don't love me. You love my stability. You love my paycheck. You love having someone to fall back on when your affairs don't work out. But you don't love me. If you did, explain how someone who loves her husband spends 3 months sleeping with 2 different men and then tries to trick him into raising their child." She opened her mouth to answer, then closed it. For the first time in the conversation, she was speechless. "Here is what's going to happen," I continued, my voice steady as steel. "You're going to pack your things, you're leaving my house today, and this marriage is over." "No!" She jumped off the sofa, panic now explicit. "No, you can't throw away 3 years of marriage over this. We can go to therapy. We can get through this. I'll break it off with both of them. I'll do whatever it takes." "Break it off with both of them?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "How generous of you! How noble! You'll stop cheating on me if I agree to raise another man's child. I'll take a paternity test. We'll find out who the father is. And then what? You're going to crawl to whoever the biological father is? Do you think Nathan is going to leave his wife and kids for you? Do you think Kevin, the gym trainer, is looking to settle down with someone who was married when she got pregnant with his kid?" The reality of her situation was finally sinking in. You could see in her eyes the crushing weight of all the burned bridges. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking, "I'm begging you, don't do this. I have nowhere to go." "You should have thought of that before you decided to torpedo our marriage," I replied coldly. "You made your choices. Now live with the consequences." "But I'm pregnant. You can't throw a pregnant woman on the street." "Watch me." I stood up. The final decision. "You have 2 hours to pack what you can carry. The rest we'll settle through lawyers." "Lawyers?" Her voice cracked. "You're really going to divorce me?" "I'm not going to divorce you. I am already divorcing you. This conversation is just a courtesy to let you know what's happening." started walking to the kitchen, needing a glass of water to calm the anger, but her voice stopped me. What do I do now? I turned to look at her one last time. She was on the sofa, still holding the pregnancy test, tears streaming down her face. But they weren't the same tears from the announcement earlier. They were tears of genuine panic from someone who realized they had destroyed their own life. Honestly, I said, I don't care what you do. You're not my problem anymore. 2 weeks later, I was in the office reviewing property listings when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? Is this about your ex-wife? The voice was unfamiliar, nervous. Who is this? Nathan Miller. I think we need to talk. I leaned back in my chair, interest growing. What can I do for you, Nathan? Look, I heard about what happened, about this situation, and I need you to know I had no idea she was going to try something like this. Something like this, exactly. A pause. Trying to push the pregnancy on you. I didn't know she was married when we started. She said you guys were separating. I almost laughed. The irony was acidic. Separating? That's a new one. I'm serious. She said you guys were getting a divorce, that you lived apart, that it was just a matter of paperwork. I never would have gotten involved if I knew the truth. Well, now you know the truth. What do you want from me? Nothing, he said quickly. I just wanted you to know I'm done with her, completely done. When she told me about the pregnancy and what she tried to do to you, I can't be part of that. So you're abandoning her too. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm protecting my family, my wife, my kids. This woman lied to both of us. I can't have someone like that in my life. After he hung up, I sat there processing the call. Nathan threw her under the bus faster than I expected. That left the gym trainer. I didn't have to wait long for that story either. My neighbor Fred mentioned seeing a moving truck at our house the day after I kicked her out. Sarah went to stay with her sister Michelle on the other side of town, but the arrangement didn't last long. The full picture came to light when I ran into Mike Walsh, an acquaintance who worked at the same gym where she was a member. We were grabbing coffee where we usually met when he brought it up. Hey, isn't that your wife who was hanging out with Kevin at our gym? Ex-wife, I corrected, and yeah, I heard about that. Man, that blew up spectacularly. Kevin wanted nothing to do with her as soon as he found out she was married and pregnant. The guy has a girlfriend he's been with for 2 years. Apparently, your ex told him she was single. She seems to have told everyone she was single. Well, when the truth came out, Kevin's girlfriend almost beat her up in the parking lot. Security had to be called and everything. Your ex had her membership revoked and was banned from the property. Permanent ban. She created too much drama. Kevin's girlfriend works part-time at the front desk, so they weren't going to keep someone around who caused problems for the staff. The picture was getting clearer. Nathan cut contact to protect his marriage. Kevin cut contact to protect his relationship. Sarah was pregnant, homeless, and running out of options. But her downward spiral didn't stop there. Days later, I received a call from Clara Hayes, her former boss at the marketing firm. I'm calling as a professional courtesy, she said. I wanted you to know we had to let her go. Fire her? The situation with Nathan created a hostile work environment. He's our creative director. He's been with us for 8 years. He has a family. She was a junior account executive, less than 2 years here. When everything came out, we had to choose. What exactly came out? That she was having an affair with a married colleague, lying about her personal situation to multiple people and creating drama that affected the team. Nathan's wife called the office demanding answers. It became a mess. So now she was out of a job too. Clara Hayes continued, I want to apologize. Nathan told us what she tried to do to you, claiming the pregnancy was yours when she knew it wasn't. It's just, I can't even imagine. I'm so sorry you went through that. I appreciate that. Since that's the case, I don't think anyone here is going to give her a good reference. What she did was unacceptable. After the call, I realized Sarah had managed to destroy every aspect of her life in just 3 months. Her marriage, her home, her job, her relationships with both the men she got involved with. And for what? A few months of excitement that cost her everything? The last piece of the puzzle came from an unexpected source. Her sister, Michelle, called me directly. "I need you to know she can't stay with me anymore," she said bluntly. "Okay." "She's been lying to everyone, including me. She said you kicked her out for no reason, that you were controlling and abusive. But then Nathan called me directly and told me what really happened." "Nathan called you?" "He was trying to find her after she started showing up at his office building. The company had to get a restraining order. He called me hoping I could talk some sense into her." A restraining order? Sarah was now stalking Nathan. "She's living in a fantasy world," Michelle continued. "She thought Nathan was going to leave his wife for her, that Kevin was going to step up as the father. When both of them cut contact, she got desperate." "How desperate?" "She maxed out her credit cards hiring a private investigator to find dirt on Nathan's wife. She thought if she destroyed his marriage, he'd come back to her. The investigator took her money and said there was nothing to find." I felt a mix of disbelief and disgust, my stomach turning at the extent of her obsession. She had completely lost her mind. "That's why I can't have her here anymore. She's pregnant, broke, jobless, and honestly, I think she's having some kind of breakdown. She needs professional help, not a place to stay while she plots revenge against everyone who rejected her." "So where is she going?" "I don't know. And frankly, I don't care anymore. I have my own family to think about. I can't have someone so unstable around my kids." After Michelle hung up, I sat in my quiet house and thought about the woman I married. 3 years together, and I never suspected she was capable of this level of deception and self-destruction. She bet everything on a doomed plan and now faced the consequences alone. No husband, no job, no home, no support, and with a pregnancy that none of the potential fathers wanted. The irony was bitter. She tried to trap me into supporting her and another man's child, and ended up ensuring that no one would support her. 6 weeks later, I was grilling burgers in the backyard when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, but upon opening the door, I saw someone I didn't imagine. "Jennifer," I said, surprised to see my ex-wife on the porch. "Hi," she said with a slight smile. "Can we talk?" Jennifer and I divorced 8 years ago, but we maintained a decent relationship for our kids. She was married to Steve, a nice guy, and they seemed happy, but this was the first time she'd shown up unannounced. "Sure, come in." She followed me into the living room, looking around the space I had shared with another woman for 3 years. "I heard what happened," she said bluntly. "David told me." David was our 17-year-old son. He and his younger sister, Emily, split their time between Jennifer's house and mine. "What exactly did David tell you?" "That your wife tried to pass another man's kid off as yours, and that you had medical proof she was lying." Jennifer shook her head, her face marked with empathy. "I had to hear it from our son, because I didn't believe it when he told me." I sank into my chair, exhaustion weighing on me. "That's it. That sums it up." "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice heavy with genuine sympathy. "I know how much you wanted this marriage to work." "It's over now." "Is it really? I mean, are you okay?" The question caught me off guard. Jennifer and I had our problems in our marriage, but she was never cruel or manipulative. Our divorce was because we grew in different directions, not because of betrayal. "I'm getting there," I said honestly, feeling the weight lift a little. "Well, because I want you to know something." She leaned forward in her chair. "What she did to you was unforgivable, absolutely unforgivable, and David and Emily feel the same way." "They do?" "They're furious, Emily especially. She really liked her, you know. She thought she had a stepmom who cared about the family." Jennifer shook her head. "I've never seen Emily so mad." Emily was 15 and had always protected those she loved. I could imagine her indignation. "David is worried about you," Jennifer continued. "He wanted to come talk to you, but he didn't know if you wanted to discuss it. You know how he is with emotional stuff. He doesn't need to worry about me. Yes, he does. You're his father, and he's proud of how you handled it. Proud? He said, and I quote, "Dad didn't let her play him like a fool. He saw through the lies and kicked her out right away. That's how a man deals with betrayal." Something in my chest loosened, a relief I hadn't expected. I feared this would affect my relationship with my kids. Emily said something similar, Jennifer added. She said she was proud to have a father who doesn't let anyone take advantage of him. I appreciated that. Jennifer got up and went to the window, looking out at the yard where I was grilling. You know, when we divorced, I was mad for a while, but looking back, we were just two people who grew in different directions. We never lied to each other, never tried to hurt each other on purpose. What she did to you, she turned to face me, it's not just the end of a marriage, it's betrayal on a level I can't comprehend. It's over now. Is it really? Because David mentioned she's trying to contact you. I hadn't told anyone that, but nothing got past my teenage son. She's called a few times, sent messages. I don't respond. Well, don't respond. Jennifer's voice was firm. That woman tried to trap you into raising another man's kid. There's no coming back from that, ever. We talked for another hour. She said the kids wanted to spend more time with me for a while to make sure I was okay. She offered to help with a divorce. Surprisingly, she offered to be a character witness if necessary. A character witness? To say that you're a good man, a good father, and that what she did was off the charts. If her lawyer tries to paint you as a villain for kicking out a pregnant woman, I'll set the record straight. After she left, I sat in the quiet house and realized something had changed. For the first time since the start of this mess, I didn't feel alone. I felt supported, protected, even loved. My phone buzzed with a message from David. "Dad, if you need anything, just call. I'm proud of you for not letting her get away with it." Then another from Emily. "Love you, Dad. You deserve way more than what she did to you." The next night, David arrived with a pizza and homework. "I thought I'd stay here today," he said casually, but I saw the concern in his eyes. "You don't need to babysit me." "I'm not babysitting. I really want to be here. Besides, Mom is making Steve watch a rom-com tonight, and I'd rather do algebra." We ate pizza and talked about everything except my situation. Having him there, treating me normally, made me see how much I needed that normalcy. "Dad," he said while packing up his books, "I know it's weird to say, but I'm kind of glad this happened now, not later." "How do you mean?" "Imagine if you found out after the baby was born. Imagine spending months or years raising a kid that wasn't yours before knowing the truth. At least now you found out before she could really mess up your life. My 17-year-old son showing wisdom beyond his years." "You're absolutely right. And besides," he said with a slight smile, "now we know you still have good instincts. You saw through her act." After he left, I realized that what I thought was the worst day of my life was a blessing in disguise, not only for discovering the truth, but for showing me what genuine support looks like. My ex-wife, who owed me nothing, came to offer help. My kids, who could have been embarrassed by the drama, were proud of me. I had people who truly cared about me. Meanwhile, Sarah faced her pregnancy alone, without a job, without a home, without anyone to manipulate. The contrast was stark. 6 months later, I was closing a large commercial property deal when my lawyer, Gabriel Torres, called with expected news. "The divorce is finalized," he said. "She didn't contest anything in the end." "Great. And I thought you'd like to know, she had the baby last week, a boy." I felt nothing. No curiosity, no regret, nothing. That chapter of my life was closed. "The paternity test confirmed it's Kevin's," Gabriel continued, "but he refuses to be involved. He signed away his parental rights immediately. And Nathan was never a candidate once they confirmed the dates. Their affair ended before the pregnancy, so she got exactly what she deserved. nothing. My life, on the other hand, had taken a different turn. The real estate market was in my favor, and without the weight of supporting someone who was working against me, I saved more in 6 months than in the previous 2 years. David got into his first-choice college with a partial scholarship. Emily was shining in school and had decided to join the debate club, inspired by wanting to defend what is right, as she said. As for Sarah, I heard from Michelle that she tried to rebuild her life, but reality hit her hard. Without a job, with a record stained by bad references, Sarah ended up in a low-paying job, working part-time at a diner, living in a cheap rental apartment, far from the glamorous life she dreamed of. She tried to contact me one last time.